What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Making It podcast with Brady Martin. Today, I'm here with Lukas Charles Stafford. Do you want me to use your full name or just Lukas Stafford?
Oh yeah, do the full. The
Lukas
first.
Charles Stafford the third. So I'm here with Lukas Stafford, and we are um, talking about acting, movies. This one's going to be a little bit different. I think with some of the other guests, we've been kind of like it's kind of been more of an interview, I would say, and this one I think is going to be just more like hanging out. Strap in for that, and here we go. You just did a movie. You did, was it Lifetime or Hallmark? They're very different.
Right.
One's
Right.
like very murdery, and one is very hopeful.
Yeah.
Which one did you do?
I did the murdery one. I did the Lifetime.
Okay, okay, yeah,
If there's murder and Hallmark, there's always got to be a positive spin. Otherwise, people stop watching.
yeah.
For
My
sure.
mom loves Hallmark. Like, you
But
can't get her to watch like any like actually good movies, but as soon as you turn on like a Hallmark movie, she's just strapped in. It's so funny.
was that a silent dig against the movie I just did, or
No, because you're Lifetime, so that it wouldn't even be possible for that to be a
that's true.
dig.
That's just true.
Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, she'll. I remember last time I went home, she watched the King George or Prince George whenever he was engaged to Meghan Markle or whatever, and like that was a thing that yeah. But so you did the Lifetime movie. What was that movie about?
What's funny, we just did ADR for it today.
Hmm.
I went in and took care of all that. If you don't know, I'm not sure if everyone would know what that would be. ADR is audio digital recording type stuff. So when you watch a movie, one of the things you don't see is how once it goes to post, they're creating a bunch of sounds that they record and put with the film, like people clapping, people walking, little tiny things that make it feel real. The actors will go back in there and will record over some things that we already said. Like there were many moments today, for example, I recorded over my lips, uh, or I recorded things that you don't see me on screen, but I'm I'm off screen, and it makes the story gel, makes it feel real, doesn't take you out. So we just did that today. The movie, it's called The Student. It's about this scandal that's been going on. This is very, very, very Lifetime. This scandal that's been going on at a university called Payton University, where for about 60 years, murders have been happening, things like that. But it's all flown under the radar because it's been done by a secret organization, part of a fraternity. Not the
Hmm.
fraternity itself, but an organization of men who are now multi-generational, and these guys are politicians. These guys are very successful men. So if this organization gets found out and they play backwards, then people who are, well known across the world and successful would then be found out as well. Well, there's been murders and all kinds of things. Well, this one girl, the student, who's the female lead, um, who I played opposite of, she starts figuring some things out. She gets harassed. She's one of the victims, not of murder, but something else. And she starts figuring out the truth. And also part of the plot is the man who's running the whole operation happens to be my dad. Fun
Plot
fact.
twist. Spoiler, dude.
And
What
I'm
the
part of it.
fuck?
I'm part of the Orion Club. I'm part of it,
Okay.
which is what it's called.
It's kind of
So
like the Illuminati.
kind of, yeah,
Kind of.
yeah.
I
Anyhow,
see.
and I'm president of the fraternity, but I'm also in the next generation of this Orion's Club. I fly under the radar though from doing all the bad stuff because secretly my character, he also he's fallen in love with this girl
The
who's wanting
student?
things out. So he's torn between his dad and her, And his dad is obviously ordering him around to try to stop this and that. And meanwhile, I'm falling in love with her. And at the end of the film, I have to make a
Conflicted.
choice. So we got to watch it to see what happens.
Well, you sold it, dude. That was a good description of what happens. Um,
Kristen Vaganos, um,
is that the actress?
you're fantastic. Great job. Great job. Go check
Dude,
her out.
it actually sounds really good.
Mhm.
A lot,
I
dude.
saw the footage today, like I said. It
You
looks
saw
great.
it?
Not the whole film, but
No,
when I
but I
went
mean,
in to do ADR, I got to see some of it. So,
yeah, dude, ADR is hard. I've only had to do it once.
mhm.
Um, but I remember like if you're not like spot on, it's like it can be pretty bad.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What did you do? What was it that you did?
It was so long ago, dude. It's for like a short film. Um, and basically the line, like the audio got fucked up on the day. So anytime the camera would cut away to the other character, we'd have to like kind of fill in lines. And so while I was like off screen or whatever, we'd have to fill in to kind of like make the story make sense. And then they kind of like salvaged what they could out of like what was going on screen. But to reshoot would have been really hard, so they did a lot of it through ADR. It was not a good movie. It was not good.
I want to see it.
But they did their best. Yeah, I don't even know if you could find it, honestly. It might have been one of those where they kind of like just threw it away, but
That's part of it. You, as an actor, actress, really any profession, um, despise not the day of small beginnings. You know, um, starting wherever you start. There's something to be said for that. My first real film was a shark movie. I got eaten by a shark. That's on Amazon. If
was
you
it
want to go see that,
Sharknado?
it was the same company.
Oh, that's funny. Man, they're
Yeah,
obsessed with sharks, huh?
I know. Yeah, people keep watching it.
It's true.
They're like,
Dude, that those Sharknado movies, like at first I think they really tried for it to be like good. Like you
no.
in the first one you get the sense that they were like, "All right, let's try to like do some good visual effects and stuff." But by like the third or fourth one, they were just like, we know what this is. Let's
Yeah,
just embrace it. Let's make it as cheesy as possible."
which is why people are watching it in the first place.
Yeah,
You know,
just to make fun of it. It's kind of like The Room. Have you seen The Room?
oh, I haven't, but I know what you're
You
talking about.
know it though.
Uh-huh.
Where he's like, "You're tearing me apart, Lisa." That one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um
I know exactly what you're talking
dude. Um so this dude, I have to be so vague on this thing because like I can't like there's such a small group of people that watch this that like know me.
about. I
Um
bet there is.
and so
Um,
um there was this one filmmaker I know. He sent me a script and like it was literally like a couple of the lines were just like straight out of the room. It was like, how can you possibly like think that this is how people actually talk? It was, the line like, "Oh hi, Mark." If you've seen The Room, it's one of those like iconic lines of like, "Oh hi, Mark." "Oh hi, doggy." Like one of those type of things. Wrote the script and it literally had like things where it was like, "I'm so glad that we've been brother and sister for so long." It was like, dude, you're not serious, you know?
yeah.
So,
Oh,
yeah, it happens.
it does. No, it does. It does. It does. It does. But yeah, again, where you start creating a film is nothing short of a miracle.
I agree.
No.
I've said that many times. Yeah.
Yeah, there's you know, everyone's got a different job. You got to do the job to the best of your ability. But if you don't understand your storytelling, if you don't agree on what the story is, this is why you have a director. This is the purpose of a director. So if you're wondering, how do you pick a director? The director needs to have vision for the goal of the project. If you're telling the next Iron Man, even uh, the story that is being told, the director has to have a great vision for what that story should be. So you know, everything has to happen, and it has to be just the right amount of spark. I mean, you're asking the actors to be creative, you're asking the writers to be creative, you're asking the camera, the DP to be creative. Like, there's so many millions of options on how to get just 3 seconds of a shot. Every actor has a different look. I mean, the possibilities are endless, but that's also the fun part, right? So, yeah, man, making a movie is nothing short of a miracle.
Dude, I'm shocked that any movie gets made. Like that's what I always say. I'm like I don't I can't comprehend that you can have somebody who has an idea that certain people are willing to invest thousands, if not millions of dollars into it. Not only do you get it shot, there's a schedule to where it gets made, it gets edited, and then put out into the world. Like the fact that that can happen is it's a miracle, like you were saying. um because there's so many moving parts. Like it's not just like, oh, let's write a script. It's like, okay, we got to write a script, we got to make sure it's half decent, then we got to get funding, we got to find somebody who has a vision to like tie it all together, we got to get camera people, the camera people have to agree on what we're shooting, the lighting has to like make sense, make sure that nothing's like blown out, the audio has to be good, the performances, like you have to find actors that are willing to do it,
Yeah.
and just tying it all together is just
I
insane.
think
And the
what
editing even.
I think what you're really actually talking about has is something that doesn't always have to do even with film. I think what you're talking about actually has more to do with creativity and leadership. For example, when I hire, like, let's say I'm producing a film, right? I'm hiring a director, all right? I'm hiring a sound person. I'm hiring an actor. So I'm giving them specific, even if I'm the director saying do it this way, I'm hiring them for their talents, but I'm putting them in charge of something, right? So at that point, whether you're making a film or you're, working at a manufacturing plant, like the whole organism falls apart if you're not hiring the right people in place to fill those positions. The thing that's different about the arts is if I have a factory that's making taillights for cars, we don't have to be super creative. We make taillights, and that's it. But if we're making a movie and the goal is to tell a great Iron Man story, for example, there are 1.5 million ways to get there, right? So now it gets more complicated because you're hiring people to be creative leaders. So really, it's like, if this is the goal, I need to hire the people that I believe are equipped to make that come to life, which is why I think people oftentimes freak out over who's directing the most. If this movie's happening, usually the question is, if it's a name, I keep saying Iron Man just because it came to mind, but that, whatever it is, we're like, who's the director? You know what I mean? Who's in
Yeah.
charge of the people who are in charge of who's in charge? But really, it's behind that are the producers, the producers, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
And that's a big thing also, is like interpersonal like dynamics of like I've had several projects that I was like involved in where like very few people could agree, and then it was just like other ones where they're like everybody was on the same page. And it's like I think you're right about it being um more about what the group dynamic is. Like it could be the same thing even as just manufacturing a product. Like it is very similar to that. I mean, because at the end of the day, like a film is a product, but
there's a business.
yeah,
Yeah,
and that yeah, the interpersonal dynamics is so important. Um,
yeah,
those are definitely things I think that you learn along the way of like
yeah.
dealing with people. Um, because I think it has a lot to do with like choosing your battles. Um, because everybody has an opinion, you know, and like the person who is having the opinion doesn't necessarily think that what they're thinking is wrong. And so I think there does need to be like a final say, like what you're saying, of the director,
Yeah.
producers who kind of corral everybody to being like, okay, there's a hierarchy of decision making within this organism that is a film.
Yeah. That is, I think that is the purpose of a director, for sure.
Yeah. So what, in your opinion, is the role of a director? Because I have my very strong opinions of like what it is, like very specifically, but what do you think is the role of a director?
The the CEO of AT&T once said, "Follow me here." This is sound like left field.
This is gonna go.
Yeah, no,
We're
director.
gonna circle back.
Yeah. It struck me when I heard it, and I think it's a really pretty way of answering the question. The CEO of AT&T once talked about leadership, because really the director is the one leading. That's at the end of the day when it's do we shoot it this way or shoot it this way, right? DP has said his piece, the actor has brought their piece, everything. It all goes back to, all right, who's in the director chair? What do you want, right? So a CEO of AT&T once said, all the leaders in the room know it's not oftentimes what do I need to get to where I'm going. It's what do I need to leave behind to get there. I think the director is that person who leads, but they're also really tasked with the hard decision. Check this out. What do we not need in the film? That's hard, man. When it's your child, when you're creating a film, it's you're creating all this footage. How many times have you watched a movie where deleted scenes? You're like, oh, that's gold, right? The
Yeah.
director is one who's in charge, and even the costume designers come to the director for the final, right? So when you're the director, you really have to not only have a great leadership skill, but you have to have vision. I think you find directors who have a lot of vision and not the greatest leadership skill, but the ones who have really truly made a name for themselves have both. You know, um, leadership skill, people skills, being able to inspire a team, being able to, Brady, if your job is to be the lead actor, my job as a director is to direct you, but I'm going to do it in such a way to where when you get into the cockpit of that moment, whatever it might be, if I'm doing my job well, and even if I'm a hard director, hopefully you're inspired by that point. Hopefully I'm not getting in your way to deliver what I'm asking you to bring. So the director really is the one who makes the project come to life. It's the one who, this is the vision, this is the idea, this is what the producers believe that I'm able to produce. Um, yeah, and that's why you'll also see like a director will. I know, for example, Zack Snyder's one of my favorites.
Love him.
And when he made Man of Steel, there were certain decisions that he wanted to make that he brought it to the producers and had a conversation with producers. The producers have to then decide: do we allow you to do this, or if we think this is a wrong creative choice, they can then step in and But
Veto
really,
that, yeah.
yeah, when you hire a director, you're saying we trust you to deliver this, product and bring it to life. So yeah, I think and that's why the director has what a creative control, But I still say that again. The reason I brought up that CEO thing was I think when you're creating a product, I just directed a short this past fall. I was super pleased with how it came out. It was 11 minutes. It could have been half an hour.
Yeah, it looked
You know,
good. It looked good.
thanks,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
And it was, I adapted it from some other ideas, so it wasn't even completely original.
But you still had the team, like you all made it together. So you still were
Yeah,
the leader as far as like making sure that your vision came to fruition.
yeah. And I had some great people. I co-directed it with Adam Billingham. He's fantastic, and he DP'd as well.
Wait, what was his name? Say it. It kind of the audio kind of cut out there.
Oh, Adam Billingham.
Okay.
He's fantastic. He's primarily a DP who's been getting into more and more directing. Um, and I brought him into that chair with me as well, and we had a great time. But one of the greatest things was, and more credit to him as well, was deciding what not to include in
Mm.
what we were doing. So that's a tough decision. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
anyway, I can go on and on about that, but Yeah,
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, I love it.
big task for that person.
Yeah, it's a big responsibility. Um, yeah, I pretty much agree with everything you said. I just have a very jeez, shirt. Um,
Take it off, man. Shirts and skins. Yeah.
yeah. Um, with directing, um, there are a couple things that I think are super important. Um, I think one of the biggest responsibilities of the director is to control the shot list. And it doesn't necessarily mean that
Really good point.
the shot list is perfectly planned out. It just means that the ordering of the shots tells the story. So I don't know if you've heard of the Kuleshov effect or it's like montage theory.
Yep.
So the succession of the shots
Yeah.
is what tells the story. So one image could be one thing, and then another could be. I'm trying to think of the Hitchcock one. If there's a man staring at a baby, and then you cut back to the man and he looks happy, then he's a very loving man. But if you cut to a man and he's looking at a murdered person and then he's smiling, he's a fucking psychopath.
Yeah.
And so the lining of images has a lot with uh, deals a lot with how we interpret meaning of what's being shown to us. And so that's why I think the main responsibility of a director is to choose where the camera goes and to pick what order the shots are shown to the audience.
Hmm.
And so that's what I would say is the main responsibility of a director. Second responsibility would be to get the performances that he needs out of his actors. Um,
Hmm.
whether that means telling it from a like moment to moment basis, asking them questions, um, or even like a technical perspective of like, if you don't hit this mark, we can't get you in focus. Like, and so that
Oh
would
yeah.
be
100%. I've been on the giving and receiving end of that. Oh yeah, and you're wanting to deliver it a certain way. You have to maintain the epitome of the character and the tone of the character, and be able to, hey, we need you to be to your right. We need you to do it here, and to be able to maintain that,
yeah,
knowing your man. You know. Oh
yeah.
yeah. And
And
100%.
if it's difficult with the actors, like if they're having a hard time figuring out how to get inside their heads in order to make it a performance where it's like we're all going to be happy with this.
Yep.
Like you need to trust me in order to get this performance. So that at the end of the day, you look good and the movie looks good.
I love what you said. Were you gonna say a little bit more about that?
No, I think I'm
Okay.
good.
You made me think of something really exciting.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
I
I mean, I have other thoughts, but they're kind of like you know how it like trails off. It's like those are like the important two, but like then it would just kind of trail off into
That's,
like
I mean, we could do this for hours.
yeah, exactly.
This,
So you yeah,
this is
go
where
ahead.
it gets fun for me, because now you also get into the role of the actor, right? Um, I think the best work comes out when you know your man, you know your person, you know your woman, you know your who
Like
you're.
as an actor.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Actor, actress, anything. I had so much fun in that short. It's just in the front of my mind. I had Elise Luthman. I played the lead male, directed, and then rewrote the script. She played the lead female, and we did a romantic short,
Hmm.
and we played opposite of each other. I rehearsed with her 3 times before. By the way, Elise is a fantastic actress. She's been on
What's her plugger? What's the Instagram? What's the ats?
probably just at Elise Luthman. I'd have to look it up, but she's
Funny.
fantastic. Feel free to tag her. She's brilliant. You can even the short. It's called Love
Have her on
Does.
the show.
We gotta do it.
Fuck
She's
it.
great.
Yeah.
She's been on Euphoria and some other pretty cool things.
Oh,
I
another
love.
Euphoria alum.
Oh
We
yeah.
got one
Oh yeah.
already.
Really?
Yeah, Andy Sandoval. Shout out
Oh,
Andy.
come on, Andy.
He took Zendaya's virginity in the show.
Oh, great,
He was that guy in the cutscene.
great.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, go ahead, Elise. Yeah.
should have Tom Holland on the show and ask him about that.
Yeah, I'll have Tom Holland on the show for
Yeah,
sure.
that's awesome. That's next week.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah, next week, yeah.
um, I think as actors, first and foremost, I actually want to say this. This is a little bit bold to say.
No, go ahead.
If you're interested in being an actor and actress, recognize first and foremost, if you want to do it, baby. I would say the same thing as someone wanting to be an English teacher or being a good parent. But recognize that it is a whole craft. It's not playing an instrument. It's not doing a sport necessarily unless you're playing that character. However, acting is a whole craft. Being able to do it in a way to where it feels completely natural and believable. Being able to do it in a way where you can adapt yourself into the mind of someone who actually doesn't exist or used to exist or something like that. Um, Being in touch with your emotions in a way and knowing how to strategically. It's not necessarily this is, and I'm also still learning. We all are, but I've found that my favorite stuff usually comes out when I'm able to bring something from my personal world, my personal psyche into the space of whoever this person is. What are they after? What do they want? What are they feeling? Knowing my man to the point that as I'm reading a scene, doing an audition, or reading a scene, doing a film or something, it's I feel I know what I'm going after, and I feel that journey so much so that if I'm delivering it as Nathan something, I actually feel like I'm just me. So then you see it as acting, but I feel like I'm there. So being able to push that into a certain lens that even if I'm playing someone who acts nothing like me, I feel my emotions in that moment. That's a very hard task to do and to not break from.
Yeah.
So just recognizing that, get in acting classes, study the craft. Um, we've all seen actors, try something and we recognize bad acting when we see it. You know, um, versus the supreme, it is a muscle to train. You know,
Yeah.
so
I always say you're good in proportion to how much we can tell you're not doing it. um
tattoo that on your left bicep or something. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, but
What was it?
yeah,
What
yeah.
was it?
You're good in proportion to how much we can tell you're not doing it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I think the important thing is to really do it. You know, if you're, uh, and a lot of actors I've heard go like, "Oh, my character would never do this," and it's like, if he's doing it, he's the type of person who would do it. You know, and so then you just have to like make sense of why he would do it and make it make sense for you as an individual. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like it's it goes back to like judging and not judging your character of I'm a big believer that like morality doesn't exist within the arts. Like you're allowed to have your own personal shit outside of it where it's like I would never do this, but it's like it's all in service of the story. And we were talking about this the other day.
Yeah. This is a
Where
hot
it's
topic.
what?
I would just say this is a hot topic
Yeah, it
because
is a hot topic.
we disagreed to a certain level.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. And
yeah.
so one of the big things that I believe is like who I am as a person. Um, Although I can bring myself to things, my things that I'm willing to do as an individual in my own life kind of stop at the door when it's dealing with larger themes and metaphors than I would deal with in normal life.
Mm.
Like in service of the story, like I don't have to be thinking about murdering somebody when I'm murdering somebody. I could be killing the idea of um people hurting other people, you know? Like and in service of the story, um there's always a reason why somebody does something. And
Oh,
in stories, shit makes sense. Shit is set up in order to give a beginning, middle, and end. And so when somebody goes and does something heinous, usually that thing pays off by the end of it, and we see why. So I think it's more important that characters like be understood than to judge them right or wrong, if that makes sense. And
yeah.
I know you have a lot of thoughts on this, so I would love to pick your brain on that.
I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying about the craft. Um, you are the best actors and actresses, in my opinion, whole realism into something that we're being entertained by. But the deepest projects we see, like, oh, I identify with that. I see the darkness behind that, or I'm inspired because of the light. Right.
Hmm.
I personally have a vendetta for telling stories that leave you inspired
Yeah,
and hope.
I love
So,
that.
so if I'm gonna tell a story where 15 people get murdered, I personally, as Luke, I am interested in the tonality of my career in telling stories that inspire you as Brady to, if I'm going to take you on this journey of seeing darkness. For example, I thought the Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, I think the reason that exploded was actually not because of his darkness. I think it was because it reminded us what could happen at the with the frivolity of mental health and the extreme of what that could be. And it's a DC Comics character, right? We all know who the Joker is, but we watched his demise into being the Joker
Did you mean
with
frailty?
uh frivolity. It's a
Well, I'm gonna have to
uh,
Google that because I don't know
so
that word.
yeah. uh we'll fit in some more. No, but like for my point is like the Joker, I thought that was a very inspirational movie. I was
Yeah,
inspired and I was uncomfortable, you know? Have you seen the movie?
yeah, I've seen it.
When he is on the talk show, the
At
tension there,
the
right? So my
don't
point
want to
is,
spoil it, but if
yeah,
anybody
no,
hasn't seen it, then you're
go
kind of
watch it.
like out of luck. Let's spoil
So,
it.
so if you're playing that character, right? That's first of all Joaquin's job. That's why he's paid to do that. It's a very hard task. Imagine attaching your psyche to a mentally unstable person who's having no out. If you watch the movie, you literally feel. I was in tears at one point, man. Like I
Which
literally was
point?
like the dude being when he's on the subway.
Oh, he's being beat up by the
I
guys.
literally like I'm just begging like any type of because most movies, bad is happening and someone comes in with good and right. That's what we like to see, right? What happens if this never happens? That's what the Joker exposed.
Yeah,
Um, why do bad people do bad things in real life? I know this is probably not what we're going to talk
to
about, but
get what they
even
want.
this recent, yeah, I'll go there. This recent shooting, horrific,
The Uvalde shooting.
horrific.
Mm.
I also have to ask the question though: the mental health of this young man. I don't know it, but I can't imagine it was good, right? And so he did the most horrific thing. And I'm not defending him in any way. I'm not going down that route. However, let's address mental health, right?
Yeah,
Well, the Joker, going back to film, did that, right? So we're telling a story that is actually something that brings us, we need to be aware of this. So I'm interested in telling, stories like that, other films that don't give you something inspirational. Um, I'm not super interested in because it's not aiding to humanity in any type of way. It's not helping people be more their best version of themselves, which I want to leave you encouraged, even if it goes a dark route.
yeah,
Um, that's personally my cup of tea.
yeah.
I'm
Same.
into that part of the thing, just with my
I
personal goals. But
yeah.
um, set all that aside, when you're acting, so all those decisions I just said when you're in the actor chair have already been made. You have to deliver the person.
Hmm.
Like we need to watch it and feel that character, right? It needs to be
Yeah,
believable. That's the Joker, right?
yeah.
So, you know, I think that I guess that's just my point. Is all that also needs to be earned. I think one thing you and I also talked about was I love the love story of Titanic. There's a reason it exploded back then,
Yeah.
right? I think sometimes like sex scenes are not earned. I watch a film and I see it come up and it's like, okay, you're just trying to put have sex to have sex.
Yeah.
Feels like a money grab. However, every once in a while, and I'm maybe more picky than the average person because of what I've said. Originally, I want to see stories that inspire. Don't put something on camera that doesn't need to be there just to. It doesn't aid the story. It's like a resume. Everything in the story should be essential to getting us to
Yeah.
the
Choosing
goal.
what to leave out, like what you said earlier.
Yeah, and I felt like the Titanic was a rare, in my personal experience, a rare film where I feel like the sex scene actually aided the story of a
Yeah.
love story. Um, anyway,
Yeah, I agree. One thing I'm not a fan of is doing things for the shock of it.
yeah,
I don't know if you were a fan of Game of Thrones, like when it was coming out. I don't know if you watched that at
I
all.
watched the first season. I watched the first
Okay.
season. I didn't watch after that.
So leading up until about the sixth season, I believe, when they had the books to go off of, everything was built up and paid off. And this is a big story thing for me. The characters have to deserve their fate. For me, that's a big thing.
I agree.
So if a character makes a bad decision, it needs to pay off later. They either need to be punished for it or they need the opportunity to learn from it. And that's something that's very big um, for me. And so the first 6 seasons of Game of Thrones were masterful storytelling because they could rely on George R. R. Martin. There had already been books written on the from a master storyteller about why these characters were doing what they were doing and the
Sure.
consequences of those actions that they were taking. By the I don't remember how many seasons it went, and if anybody's listening out there, I apologize. Um, by the last season, nothing was paid off. The characters' decisions didn't make sense. It seemed like every decision they made was to set up something that the audience was expecting and then to shock them by doing something completely different. So they would set up a character to be like, oh, he's the hero, and then we're going to kill him. As opposed to the first 6 seasons, where it was like, this character did this, and then he fucked up, and now he died. And now he can't be the king or the
It was
queen or
earned.
whatever. It was all earned. Yeah.
That's
And so
that's the
one of
part.
the
Yeah,
one of the big things that I really hate about film or some decisions that are made are when shit is just done to shock the audience
yep,
because film is supposed to make sense to me because you're telling a story. Real life doesn't have to make sense.
yep.
Bad things happen to good people all the time. Good things happen to bad people all the time. But
But
we
in
tell
film, we get a chance to go underneath the hood of what we don't experience in real life, and I think that's part of the magic of
exactly.
why the Joker hit so hard. The people who saw him do the thing
Yeah.
that was really bad, and the audience didn't join us on the story.
If the audience didn't relate to the Joker, the thing that happened in the talk show would have been seen as like, why is this happening?
Exactly, which we
We
experience
need,
in our life
but
in real
we
life.
relate to him because we've seen all the shitty things that have happened to him that led to this decision that he's making. Therefore, as the audience, we don't want him to pay off that thing by being punished because
Yep,
we understand these shitty things happen to this guy. So he's not a victim of what happened. We understand exactly why he's making these decisions.
yep,
And
100%.
so a lot of things that happen um, that were like, oh, why did that happen in the movie? It's because they didn't set it up in a way where it's like we want to see them go down or we want to see them win. And
Talk about
that's
that.
what makes a satisfying story. And this
Yep,
goes back to the last episode what I was talking about with Fran is like there's
yeah,
only two story structures. There's comedy and there's tragedy. We want to see good things happen to good people. That's a comedy. We want to see bad things happen to bad people. That's a tragedy. And those two story structures
Yeah.
are at the core of the human experience.
Yep.
And real life doesn't make sense. So when we go watch a story, these are the things that we want to see.
Yeah. And so this is where the split happens between filmmakers, in my opinion. First of all, brilliantly said. Um, dude,
It's the whiskey talking.
man, I'm jealous. I should have got some scotch or something. You kidding
That's
me?
what this is. This is scotch. This is Glenmorangie 14. If you want to try it, it's the best scotch that I've ever had. So,
um, I tag that in the podcast.
yeah,
Maybe
get a sponsor.
be
Okay, it
sponsored.
might not be the best I've ever had, but it's really good.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, keep
yeah.
going. Sorry.
But don't tag him now that you said that.
It's really good. Sponsor me.
Not the best, but
Yeah.
no. So now there's split ways on how to tell those stories,
Yeah.
right? Um, and this is where, oh man, this could be a whole topic for a podcast.
Go ahead, dude. We got time.
Decide what your message is as a creative. So many people move to this city so unhealthy. Um, LA does not attract the most healthiest of people. Okay.
Yeah.
And very few times, we've all been through our own process. Lord knows I have felt the sting and pain of who am I?
I've
Right.
been through some
We all have to go on
things.
that journey. However, at some point you need to do the work of discovering who you are, and how you, what I hope is that you inspire people because you've been inspired. My point behind all this is you have to decide what your message is and what kind of person, what kind of man, what kind of person, what kind of all of that. What are your belief systems? What are your values? What all that you decide who that is. In my opinion, you really should, because when you create, you can start creating with what do I want to leave behind. You know,
Mm.
my children may be the only thing that I really truly leave behind. You know, 100 years from now, people might not know who Luke was, and that's okay. That's not why I'm doing this. But at the same time, what can I do with what I have left while I'm here? And so, as a filmmaker, I think where we split is we all have different tonalities because this is what I hope to bring to the world, even if that world is 10 people. And LA attracts people who are in it just for the fame. And I'll just tell you, they get thrown around like a grocery bag, used, tossed out because there's nothing to stand on that says, no, 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 no. This is who I am. This is what I won't tolerate. This is what I will do. This is how hard I'm working for to get it. You'll work so hard for something when you really, really, really know enough of who you are, of how you've been. I believe in God, so I believe that we've been made, how you've been made, or whatever higher power you have, how you've been structured that makes you unique. Um, you'll fight for that because you're not being bent by the will of everyone else's agenda, which most folks who move to LA are. That's what happens.
Yeah.
We attract people here who are running away from broken relationships, who are trying to go after a dream that they felt like they weren't allowed to pursue, or trying to get something they feel like they lost. Identity crises are everywhere.
Running away is a great word for what LA tends to be for
Yep.
people. That's
And
a good way to say it.
very few do you find someone who has a damn conviction.
Yeah.
This is why I do this. And it could be, and then you have folks who don't even love the craft. They do it. They don't even love the
Yeah.
craft. They're doing it because they want to be famous.
They want to be famous. Yeah.
Right. And it's
Yeah.
like, nah, man, stay in the bed. Give that to somebody who actually wants to change a life or
Yeah,
wants.
like what are you contributing?
Yeah.
Like what do you want to give? Like that it's really like a lot of people out here are like me, give me, give me, give me. It's like, but what do you want to give? What do
Yeah.
you want to contribute?
Because then you'll create when no one's watching.
Yeah. You
That
do it
is the
for
biggest
you.
decision. You'll do it. You'll do it because you love it. And if you just help 5 people, you can go to bed. You help one. Hell, you help yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think the people that inspire us the most, that if I would list their names, we would have like a feeling, right?
Yeah.
Are those kinds of people. They feel sturdy versus the ones who will do anything just to get up. you know.
Yeah.
um and so that's where I think it splits. You have directors who do this, you have directors who do that, you have singers who did do this, you have, people who are different, um because what they bring is different. So yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a like what we were just talking about. I think there's a big aspect of being an artist that is being of service to other people. And that is a big thing that I've been thinking about lately is like, how am I actually helping other people? Like, how am I in my life? How am I inspiring other people? How am I like loving other people? Um, and yeah, I think people really resonate with that. I think it's a much I think going outside yourself is much bigger than being like, I want to be famous or I want the world to see. But it's like, if you don't have anything for others, like why would they care? You know?
Yeah,
Like if you're not saying anything, then why would people want to hear you talk?
that's so good. You're actually really touching on something, and this is why I encourage. This is actually kind of the tone of, this is what Brady and I were talking about the other night. Because we disagree on a few things, but that's good.
They're like I mean, they're slight
Right,
differences.
right,
They're like nuanced differences.
for sure, for
Like
sure.
I
No
would
one.
never no, I'm not gonna go there. But there are certain things I would never do.
Yeah,
Like it doesn't matter how much someone would pay. That's a big thing actually. Like I have certain things where it doesn't matter how much someone would pay me, I would still say no. And I think that's where we agree. I think that's our crossroads actually. Is
mhm,
like there are certain things that I would say no to no matter how many millions of dollars that they're paying me. And I don't have much, and I would still say no to millions of dollars over certain things. Like
exactly.
I am like nobody, but I still turn down auditions because I don't agree with the project.
Yeah, which is exactly the substratum of what we just talked about.
Yeah.
What
So
we just
I
talked.
think we agree more than we disagree, to be
Yeah,
totally
I totally
honest.
agree, and I'm glad you brought that up, because even my goal in mentioning the disagreement is the beauty of, how would you handle that? How would you handle that? There's a beauty in that, getting out of your head and hearing perspective.
Yeah.
However, what you just said is so beautiful, because at the core of knowing who you are and what you want to make, then you know what you don't need, right? Just like creating the movie. I know what I don't want Luke to put his name on,
Yeah.
which sounds third person and ridiculous, but at the end of the day, man, I could be married, I could have a partner, I could be laying next to a person, and the only person who I'm actually laying with all the time is this guy.
Yeah.
I got to be okay with him. And so whatever that is for you, however you define success, it's dropping things out of your life that don't need to be there to get you where you're going. They are distractions. So, and I've struggled with that in my own life, but when it comes to making those decisions, I wouldn't do this. I can stand strong when 10 million is offered to do a certain thing on camera that because at that point I might be gaining 10 million, but I'm making a 10 billion sacrifice.
Yeah.
You know,
What's that Bible verse?
what is it
like
to gain the whole world and
in
lose
the
your
world to
soul?
lose
I
your
was just
soul.
thinking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's damn truth in it, and I encourage, you know, that may sound old school, but it's actually, you feel so much better when you
Yeah, you feel
know.
better.
Yeah,
Like as an individual, like even if it's a selfish motive, like you feel better as a person if you say no to certain things.
yeah, and also having faith that more opportunity will come. And when you create a name,
Yeah, abundance. Yeah.
when you create a name for yourself, people start to understand this is not who this is. They will not do that. And you also start to put yourself into a class of people that folks know, if they want to work with you, oh, this guy's the real deal. So then I also encourage, you got to make sure that your craft matches that. I
Yeah.
can have this morale all day, but if I can't
Yeah,
act with it,
that's true.
you know,
You got to be a good
character and
actor. Day
craft.
one.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
goes without saying. You can't suck and then say, I won't do that. Well, we
Yeah,
didn't ask
no.
you.
Well, we don't want
You
you
know?
anyway, so
Yeah.
bye.
So,
Yeah. No,
but
you're
when you
totally
do
right.
start to when character and craft meet each other, you create something with depth
Mm.
that which is I'm saying not like
So
what
when
we
character and character meet, you
ooh,
create something with depth. Sorry.
character and craft.
Yeah, well, I meant character, like a person. It's just a play
I
on
know. Yeah,
words.
yeah, yeah.
Like personal character mixed with the craft
The
of
character.
character. Yeah, I was
That's
agreeing
brilliant.
with you. Sorry, I was just
I like
saying it in a
that
funny
too.
way.
Um, I've had this conversation a lot recently because
Yeah,
there's and I'll say this, and this is the last thing I think I was thinking of when you said your last point because you really said something brilliant. Was
I already forgot.
you know just deciding it was that same thing deciding like what you want things you'd say no to.
Yeah,
Most people out here won't do that.
yeah.
They'll do
No,
anything
most will not.
just to get in a room. They
Yeah,
don't care what room it is. They don't care if it's they don't care.
yeah,
Whatever gets me up. Um, and to those people, I say, you know, I, 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 I'm sorry. Whatever has made you feel that way, I just want to remind you, hey, you're worth so much more than just quick popcorn fame. You're so much more valuable than that. Decide who you want to be and stand on that because you don't recognize the ripple you have. You know, so the
yeah.
effect you have.
I
You can see
completely
everything in
agree.
the room but yourself. I can see, and this is a rare occasion because there happens to be a little dial of me
You
up
can see
there.
yourself, dude, right now. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
shit.
That's funny.
But when you're in a room, you can see the bed, you can see the wall, you can see everything. The only thing you can't see is yourself. So really, a metaphor for you can't see the effect you have on people. That goes for your career. That goes for your relationships. That goes for you know all that.
Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like we should talk a little bit about craft. Honestly, I feel like
But
we should go into it. Let's see what time we're at right now. I mean, we didn't really. We're good. Yeah, we're good. Um,
this is fun, man.
I think
Yeah.
we haven't done as long as you think we have, which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. um, so yeah, what would you say is your like acting craft? Like what would you say is like the way that you approach it? Like I know for me I like to ask a lot of questions. I know we both studied like at Ivana,
Yeah.
but my real craft is I start with like, okay, who is this guy? What is the scene about? Like I'll just ask as many questions as I possibly can. And then I'll go into like, well, what does he want in this scene? But I feel like figuring out, like for me, what the character loves and what he hates is a much better starting point for me
I was
than
gonna say
just going straight into like, what does he want in this scene? Because then it becomes almost like math homework. But I like to approach it from a very like human perspective of like I think that love is a very strong motivator for things. So the first question I ask is like, what are the things that this character loves? Like, is this person that he's in the scene with somebody he really cares about? Is somebody off screen somebody that he really cares about? And then what is that like for me? And then just going through just
that.
just like that. And then, what does he want and linking it back up to me, making it
Yeah.
selfish.
Yeah.
So what's yours though?
Well, very similar. I love the way you broke that down. Uh, in order to connect with something emotionally, because at the end of the day, the end goal is to deliver something that you forget that it's acting.
Yeah.
It feels on. It feels you feel the emotion. So it's starting with who is this guy,
Hmm.
right? Core level. Who is this guy? What does he value?
Yeah.
What does he despise? What makes him? What breaks him? What does he want? Right? That's what I usually think of. That is another colorful way of saying what does he love? What does he hate?
Hmm.
right? Because those motivators will do something out of the, I'll pursue something out of purpose or I'll pursue it out of pain. Bold claim. There's
Yeah,
negative
that's
reinforcement
good.
and positive reinforcement. So if I'm pursuing act, we just talked about this. If I'm pursuing acting, for example, am I coming from a place of purpose or am I coming from a place of pain?
Hmm.
A fear of failure. Am I operating out of, I'm going to do this because I'm afraid that, or I'm going to do this because I feel called to it for whatever reason, right? Or, I have mouths to feed or whatever it is. So that'll force me to act
Fear's
as
a
I
good word.
actually,
Yeah.
that'll force me to act as I actually believe,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, People talk, that old school phrase, actions speak louder than words. I can say, honey, I love you so much. But then if we're sinking on a ship and I shove you underwater to stay alive,
Honey, I love you so much.
we
And then you gotta fucking kill her to save
yeah,
yourself.
questions are
Yeah.
going to be raised. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Does
so
he really love her?
I don't know.
Yeah.
So my whole point with that is I'm thinking when I first start reading a script for an audition, I had an audition a few weeks ago that I got a call back for, and I'm up for right now. I can't share about it because it is a
It's
really pretty
okay.
cool opportunity. It's for the lead. It's of something that would
It'd
be
be like
creative.
that, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
It's always,
Um,
yeah.
but in the story, the young fella, well, he's 27, 28. He's pinned underneath a Jeep. And his dad, he's on his last father-son trip before he gets married. And he's only got his iPhone to talk into. And his dad is rushed off to try to find help. But it's raining and the mud is coming up. And this is at a point of the film that's very close to the climax where it feels like that's it. He's not going to make it. So he gets his phone out and he starts talking to his dad, saying his goodbyes. His future wife, who he was supposed to marry in 2 weeks, she's pregnant with their first son, first child. And then his mom, who died in childbirth. He even addresses her, and he also addresses God,
Hmm.
who he's not sure if exists or not. So that's a lot.
Yeah.
And I did one take, and I knew it went really well. Not because necessarily I'm that great. It's really was I resonated so deeply with what he was feeling
Yeah.
that I was able to grab what he was feeling. I understood him. So really, when you what craft, understand who your person is,
Yeah.
all of who they are to what they want to what they react to. Because then when you read a script and you hear one thing that could be said a million ways, I'm not thinking about. And I think actresses need to hear this, actors and actresses. When I'm reading a script and I'm not always trying to really break down each beat and how I should react to it
Yeah.
because it becomes robotic. I just really feel what's happening.
Hmm.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
So then as I'm doing the script or doing whatever it is, I get lost
Yeah.
in what I'm feeling. So for example, I have a text from my dad when I moved to LA. Very touching.
I got a call from my mom. Same thing.
Really?
Yeah,
See?
well, you saying that immediately triggered it in me. I think there's a big thing, yeah, with that. Just like you saying that immediately was like, I have a voicemail from my mom
Yeah.
that is just that thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
keep going. Sorry.
No, I'm loving this. So in that audition, the director, just to kind of jump ahead, the director was very impressed with it, pulled me in, and spoke highly of it. So I'm only speaking to it because it was successful.
Yeah.
So there is something true in there. And this is someone who's directed a lot of really great movies. Um, when I understood who he was, I immediately pulled out that text from my dad. And in the text, my dad was saying, he was leaving to. Can I read it? It's super short.
Yeah, go ahead.
Um, so I moved to LA 5 years ago,
Mm.
and he was leaving the next day. He decided to ride with me. He was my partner. And then he flew back the next day. I took him to the airport, and here I am getting ready to start this new journey. And I take him to the airport, and he looks at me and he says goodbye. and but we're having that moment of just eyes, you know.
Yeah.
He says goodbye. He says he's proud of me, and then he gets on the plane. And right before he walks on the plane, he, does one of those and steps aside. Then
Yeah.
I get this text. He says, "Lucas, I really had a blast with you on our cross-country road trip.
Wow.
Adventure, laughter, awesome sights, good food, and interesting people. I will never forget our trip. When I walked away from you into the airport, my heart was full. I left my baby boy behind in a whole new world. He's
Bro.
grown up and it gets better.
Keep going.
I left my baby boy behind in a whole new world. He's grown up into an awesome man.
Wow.
I love you. I will pray for you, and I will miss you, but I will always be proud of you.
Wow.
Go get your dream, love God, love others, and love yourself.
Bro,
Mom and
that
I
is
want
powerful.
Mom and I want the very best for you. Love, Dad."
Man, that's crazy. I'm getting emotional
So
just hearing that. Bro,
yeah,
that's crazy, man.
yeah.
That's great.
So when I understood who this character was, I immediately just tapped into the love of that message and that
Yeah.
moment and what it represented. And then I looked into my point of where I was going to deliver them, and then I stepped into this other guy. His name is Tony,
Yeah.
but I delivered it as Luke, and it was just it was just one take. I was in tears. I
Mm.
mean, every nuance of I'm talking to my dad, whose name is Mac. I mean, stuff that's not I've never been pinned under a Jeep.
Yeah.
you know, I I'm not getting married in 2 weeks. There's a lot that I don't actually have in my life,
Yeah, of course.
but I resonated with the core of it
Mm.
when you understand your person, so much so that it was so believable that
Yeah.
I had an email from the casting director the next morning saying he's my top pick. This is
Bro, of course. Oh
what
my
I'm saying.
God.
So, and you don't have to have a text for every situation. It's
No,
just
but it's like the personalization of that. Like,
exactly.
if just, man, that was, yeah, that's powerful, man. Like, that is next level. That is
Yep.
such strong inner imagery on that. Like, man, there's like very few things that are as powerful as having like a strong inner image for something. Like,
Yeah.
seriously, that is, man, that's great. Like, literally when you were saying that, I was like, I felt that, and like, I don't have your dad, but like, I get exactly what you were saying, man. And that, like, I think if they're watching it, they don't need to know exactly what it is. But I think people could really resonate with that, you
Yeah.
know?
And so whatever you're auditioning for, whatever you're doing, it's. I mean, I really appreciate what you're saying because that means so much to me. I've held on to that message for years,
Yeah.
and I know, one day Dad won't be here,
Oh,
so
man.
it just the depth of that I'll always be unpacking, and it inspired me in my own journey of masculinity and what that means.
Yeah.
Um, every young boy, who values that wants to be told by a father figure that they are a man.
Yeah, man, of
I firmly do
course.
believe that.
Yeah.
The bestowing of masculinity for a young boy,
Yeah, it's
when
so important.
it's earned,
Yeah.
not just lied to, but when he actually does grow and his character grows and who he grows, and he gets that affirmation from his father or a father figure if he didn't have a dad or it just is such a potent thing that
Yeah.
I recognize that this character right here, that's what he was after
Yeah.
on this trip. So when that clicked for me, this was clockwork. It was so easy.
Yeah.
One take.
It just clicked in.
Yeah. So that's what we say when we act.
Yeah.
That's where it becomes so natural.
Because it
And
is
so
real.
yeah, and you don't have to have a message from your dad if you're playing another thing. It's just where in my life, once I know who this person is, can I pull from
Yeah.
to really
Completely agree,
feel
man.
this?
It's funny you mentioned that though. I have I have this photo of me and my mom when I like I knew I was never going home again, and it's like I have the same feel to that, you know? And
Yeah,
it really is like very similar to what you're saying of like this is it, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
It's like it's even hard like not to get emotional about that. And yeah,
I know, man.
yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from. And like, yeah, like having a powerful image of something that personal is like, it's so powerful. Yeah, and I people can see it. Like you don't have to like they don't have to know what it is. It can be a secret. Like you never have to tell anybody. But you knowing it is like it's big. It's big.
Yeah, and that's what an actor is tasked with, which is why it's
Yeah.
a craft.
Secrets. We have secrets. And there's
Exactly.
got to be the iceberg. Like it really is like the iceberg, you know? It's like this is what you're seeing, but there's got to be this all of this below it that's like what you're not seeing. And I think that's what creates a like substantial character is like the words are that 5%.
Yep.
And then it's like the 95% is like the inner imagery, what we want, what we love,
Yep.
all of that stuff.
If you're
And
doing
it
your job, you start to forget what the words. You forget the words.
yeah. I try
That's
to get them to a point where I don't even think about the words. Like and that's something that Michael drilled into me is
yeah. Michael
like
Monks.
yeah, since you left, I feel like I've gotten a lot better. But one of the big things he always drills in is like you should not be thinking about the words. Like you should know them so well that you're not going to forget them that you can really respond like in the moment and building that like the iceberg, you know. I mean, that's not what he says, but that's kind of how I think about it, you know.
Yeah, and that's why what you'll see like this. It happens in every movie. There are so many times, like for example, in the Lifetime movie that I did, there was
Yeah.
a couple moments that I really felt, you know,
Like connected,
oh, connected to. I didn't even say the script right, but they went with what I
but it
said
works.
because I didn't change the character, but what I said was so believable,
Mhm.
right? Leonardo DiCaprio talks about this all the time, right? Some of your favorite movies, if we were to find out the script was nothing like what the actors,
Yeah.
the goal didn't change. The moment they spoke may not have even changed, but my choice of words changed as long as it didn't change the character. Then the direct that
Yeah.
now back to the director's job. The director's job is then to say, time out, your guy wouldn't use that word. you know?
Yeah.
Um, so that's why everyone has a job. But like, yeah, man, you forget the words so much so that you even nail it to the point that sometimes you'll change a word or throw in something and you don't think about it. Um, so anyhow, it, and then it's the producers and the ones who wrote the script are now have to look at it and go, hey, do we want him to change it back? Because that felt pretty great, or
Yeah.
you know,
So I'll say this about that. Um having directed a couple of things. There is a lot of freedom
yep,
as long as you keep the lines pretty similar. As long as you're saying the same idea of what the line is and you give the same cue to the other actor. Like as long as you finish with the last 4 words or so of what the line is, and as long as your movement between shots is similar, there is way more freedom than I think people even realize. Because usually the cuts are spread out enough where you can make very creative choices. And then as long as your movement to where they cut to is the same, like it's really not that big of a deal, you know? And then it's like, yeah, you do need to be reminded, like, okay, this is your line. Like, make sure to try to say it this way. But as long as you're getting out the idea and the last couple of words are kind of similar and the other person's responding, then they can usually cut to make a performance. You know what I mean?
100%,
Yeah.
100%, which is why this is full circle. Making the movie is a miracle.
Bro, all right, let's end it there.
Yeah,
That was great.
yeah.
That
Good talk.
was a perfect. All right, bye.
Yeah,
Dude, that was great. No, that yeah. Um but yeah, yeah, we've been talking a while. But no, that is a great place to end the episode, I think. So,
I think. Well, also there's a million and a half things to talk about.
yeah, of course.
And
This is something
we
we
can,
love. So, there's always something to
yeah,
say.
and
Like I could
so
do this all day.
So if it fits, if it's clever, I'll do another one. How with you? We can deep dive
Yeah,
into another avenue of convo, but you could even talk about like making movies the miracle behind
I think once
I live
we kind of
behind
go and do a couple more things, I think we'll have even more to talk about, you
100%.
know? Cuz like I'm making a couple more films within the next couple of months. Um but like I feel like our conversation flowed really well, so yeah, I would not mind having you back on to continue it, you know?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
This
Is
was
there
so much
anything you
fun.
wanted to plug as far as like go follow you on whatever, what's the movie called?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. The floor is yours. 30
Yeah.
seconds. Go.
I well, I had a great time chatting, and I really love doing things that again help people
Yeah,
leave encouraged,
that's this is about,
um,
yeah.
and discover more of themselves, and their purpose. So feel free to follow me, Lukas Charles Stafford. I spell Lucas with a K, on everything is that handle. You can use it there, YouTube, all that. I did start music, so I've got a lot of music that is coming out with the next movies I have coming out. So feel free to check out Spotify's and all that kind of stuff. But really, I just want to help people live their God-given purpose. So feel free to follow for that. But again, podcasts like this, I think make a difference. Whether
I
it's five
hope.
or 5 million listening,
Yeah,
we have enough content out there, pal, where folks are. How many times have you gone on social media and left depressed? you know,
every time.
every time, right?
Yeah.
So if we can't eliminate the platform, let's use the platform to be a voice of something that leaves you inspired. Because when we hop on, we compare, all that kind of stuff. And hell, when we're sad, we hop on to try to get a dopamine hit, and really we end up worse.
Yeah.
you know, um, in this watered down society we live in today. So content like this matters more than I think sometimes we're willing to talk about. So thanks for doing this, man.
Yeah, man. My goal is just like help people. Um like I really want people to see people like at their level or like slightly above that are still just trying their best to like to make it, you know. I mean that's why it's called the Making It podcast.
I
There's
love
a
that.
couple different meanings, but it's like we're all just making it, you know. And that's really what the meaning is. It's like yeah, there's a thing where it's like, "Oh, I want to make it," but it's like that's really not what the meaning of this podcast is. It's like we're all making it. We're all trying to find like our next bag, you know. We're all trying to find like that next thing, and then we're all just emotionally just making it. So,
And
yeah, man.
I think I know for me, telling stories and doing all that, I love doing it. It's the thing I love. It's a craft I love, right? But the thing that makes me want to do it on this level, the thing that really I'm here, if even one person just discovers more of that, of like encouragement in who they are, and feels inspired, we have enough people taking their lives. We have
Yeah.
enough people losing their mental health. We have enough people, I don't need to add to that side, and it's a problem that I want to address. So anyway,
Yeah, man. I feel all that. So,
you can tell.
yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you guys for listening. I really appreciate you
Yeah,
all. Um yeah, go follow Lucas on Instagram. Um just a quick plug. If you want a little bit more of this podcast, go follow me at patreon.com/Brady Martin. Um it's only $3. I mean, it's not, you know, like $3. Yeah, it's not very much money, but the thing that I do love to do is make films. So that's really the only reason I would even collect money. It's because filmmaking is expensive. So,
it is.
uh
Yep.
yeah, and even if it's like a free film, it's all coming out of my pocket. So, and you can attest to this, I'm sure, but it's expensive even if you're like just paying a sound guy to show up. So, um,
Yeah.
if you if you want other content that doesn't get posted anywhere else, go to patreon.com/Brady Martin. And yeah, there's even options for like personal consultations. If you just want to hang out with me for an hour, you
That's
can
awesome.
choose to do that
Yeah.
on the Patreon. And
Yeah.
I definitely get a lot more personal with people on there than I would any other social media. So yeah, go follow there. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I appreciate it. Um, yeah, we will do this again. Um, I'll probably get a couple other guests, but you know, this is a great
We'll double
combo.
back. We'll double back. There's always more to talk about.
Yeah.
Um,
And as we have more successes and stuff like that, there's like the conversation is endless. So, yeah, man.
100%.
All right. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, brother.
Uh see you guys next time. Bye.